I don't like to drink out of a bottle in front of a bunch of people. Thank you very much. She-Dog. It's an autobiography.
You know what David Needham
I sat and read it in 2 readings.
He's a volunteer around town.
Is it short, or you just couldn't stop?
Couldn't stop reading. And you don't, after you read the book, you don't begrudge the man all the way to the end, because he went through hell. And then his partner originally was Bill Brown, who was I'm reading his book now. It's another one. He didn't write it. It's a biography, but it's another one. I can't put that. Well, not. I'm 150 pages into Bowerman's, and he's just now starting to pick up Phil Knight. He goes back to his grandfather settled Fossil.
So this book is more about his whole life.
Life. Oh, yeah.
I have no idea why you have.
Nolan, I was there. Okay. It was a great night, yeah.
Hi, Nolan. Like the hair.
Can you bring that style back?
Hi, Steve. Hi, Steve. I recognize you. You have your hat on.
Steve. Stacy, get that gravel knocked down yet? You'd have to get on her.
We get the kids to do it now.
Well, I told her, I said, all you gotta do is tell the kids to stay away from that gravel pile. They'll have it knocked down in no time.
It's happening. Russ, where's your thing?
Getting a little personal, are you?
What?
Getting a little personal, are you?
Still ask that.
It's the story of my life.
He has the.
It's right here.
This is the whole reason we did it.
It's always been this way. With the tail end of the line, all the sound runs out before it gets here.
It's not 5:30 yet.
Gonna be all right, Julie?
I don't think so.
You can't have some fun with it. There's
No.
no reason to get involved in it.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call of the council.
Darcy Curtis,
Present.
Timothy McLaughlin,
Present.
Linda Miller,
Here.
Tanner Elliott.
Present.
Wes Brown,
Present.
Mayor Lawrence.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You play ball. Okay, I'd like to introduce Tony Shawcross, and he'll explain our new paraphernalia and what's going on.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm from Denver, Colorado, the Open Media Foundation, a nonprofit organization that helps a few dozen governments across the country stream and archive their meetings through software that we built that is just built on top of YouTube. So we got a small grant from Google and YouTube to try and make the DAOs an example for what small communities throughout the country could do. So we're not only helping set up this streaming and archiving solution, but we're also doing a year-long case study of the DAOs and working with you to accomplish your goals for transparency and civic engagement, and find ways to make sure people are getting the information that they want, and then try and develop some best practices that other communities across the country can emulate and follow. So we're working hard to make sure this is a big success so that it's something that other communities across the country can emulate.
Great. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, and we have an addition to the agenda which is 11B. Let's see, do I have 11B? Yes, it is approval of lease agreement for mobile home at Columbia Gorge Regional Airport. So that's added to the agenda. So with that addition, do I
Is
have
it
a motion?
11B or 12B?
It's 12B.
12B, thank you. Do I have a motion regarding the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is presentation proclamation for Dallas Fourth, the Dallas Mural Society, and who is making that presentation? Would you come up to the microphone, please? State your name and your address.
Cynthia Torchy, I'm at 6632 Roberts Market Road in the Dallas.
Keith Morgan, 1301 Lambert Street in the Dalles.
So we did prepare a wonderful PowerPoint, but that's not going to work today. So we will just go ahead and do this orally for you. You did see the proposal that we added to your packet. So that is a funding proposal. What we want to do today is we're looking to create some new partnerships to further the growth, development, and tourism opportunities for the city of the Dalles. So the purpose of this proposal is to take Fort Dallas Forest, which was the award-winning and largest fireworks show in Oregon, and we've had a dramatic increase in the flow of visitors to our community over the last 4 years with that event. The Dallas Mural Society was established about 30 years ago, and that has a long, rich history in promoting the cultural significance of the community of the Dalles. So now we have joined forces as one entity as Fort Dallas Displays, and we're moving this venture forward. We'd like to look at additional partnerships with the city of the Dalles to encourage additional visitor opportunities and create a significant increase in community events, activities, and tourism spending for the community. So we have pictures to share.
We have some pictures to share if you want. We can just roll the laptop around.
What the current state of the murals are. I'm sure as you've probably taken a look around and seen the murals are needing some love. They haven't had a chance to really refurbish and revitalize them for quite a few years. So we would really like to take an opportunity to put together, as this committee, and as the mural committee, to really look at ways we can apply for grant funding, create some other additional fundraisers for the murals, look at mural membership drive, so reinstating the former mural society. Look at ways that we can establish some new mural locations and with current business owners. So there's several different areas that are gonna probably be changing. There's some locations that probably need to be adjusted, so we wanna see what we can do for changing those out. We need to look at hiring and consulting with the artists for repainting and new installations. We wanna really look at what the talking boxes are like and how we can make those either updated or maybe perhaps do even online applications for tours, so really get those into the year 2018. We want to coordinate with the riverboats and the Main Street for additional historic tours. And then we want to look at some additional marketing for more mural projects. There was a lighting project that occurred several years ago for the downtown murals, so we can adjust, maybe adding more to that. And then we need to look at updating the website as well. So those are just a few things that we've thought of so far as we look to start that project.
And lastly, just like restoring, we know that some of them are gonna, well, one's been kind of, in our pictures here, we showed the one over the old Tumble on the new, where the Chronicle now owns, they kind of carved up that one quite a lot. And we know that the one that's on the side of Tony's will be gone soon. We think there might be some plans in the works to possibly replace that, but part of what we would do is this group would be to work to help relocate that one, or, well, not relocate that one, but reproduce that one and or a new one in place of that. Some other things that have been discussed and really haven't, you know, gone that far as discussion around. We see the placards around the Dalles that describe where high water marks were, historical locations of various things. Yeah, the Chinese Laundry has a nice description about what used to be in that building. So maybe a little bit more than just murals, some other displays, some other things that would represent history about around the Dalles and, you know, what sat where current buildings were or where they are and what that used to be, some things like that, to kind of expand on not just having murals, but just more of a historical grounding for the Dalles. So we hope that we can expand on that. And sort of the reason for bringing these two groups together, as Cindy explained, was just to really encourage tourism around what we've built through the Fort Dalles Fourth, around really the significance of the murals and the tourism we know already exists around them. Folks just driving through, certainly folks coming off the boats. We see a lot of people as a business owner downtown. We see a lot of people just walking around taking pictures of those. You know, and it needs attention. And that group, that Mural Society, it's got a small membership, just a couple people. Gary Honnold really led the charge on that, and since his passing, it's you know, just needs some new energy, and we feel like we can bring some energy to that group and keep the energy going with what we built on for the Fort Dalles Fourth.
So there's also in your packet there was a list of some of the other events and tasks that the display Fort Dalles displays were looking at doing as well as far as the July committee, I guess, or the Freedom Festival committee. So I don't need to read through all of those unless you have specific questions for that. But we did want to get to our funding request. So what we're trying to do at this point, as we merge these two entities, is we want to be able to fund the fireworks event in its entirety, and then be able to utilize some additional funding from the city to be able to cover some of the restoration and refurbishing of the murals. So if we're able to have that funding taken care of, then our attention is turned to all of these other activities and events and celebrations that our committee, we're a small committee that has a little bit burnt out over the last 4 years. So we're really needing to support that funding in another way than what we've done in past years. So that is why we're looking to do an additional partnership. So previously, the fireworks show has cost $50,000. That's the show that we had committed to for the last 4 years. That does several things. That allows us to do a certain amount of time. Obviously, it has to do with the the rockets, the size of the rockets, because of our location, and the river launch that we have. This is one of the only places in the entire state, and really all over the country, that can do this in such a way. So that's why that allows us to have such a big and wonderful show. And so that is a big draw for us. So we just are using that number as something that we've used in the past. We're certainly open to suggestions on if we want to spend a different amount on the fireworks, but that's what we looked at. And then we're looking at what the restoration and the promotion for the murals will be. So that's another $20,000. So as a committee, as Fort Dallas Displays, we're looking to raise an additional $25,000 to be able to
Add to the event.
Add to the event
Add to
and-
the mural fund as well. Because right now the bandwidth has been, and we've asked and received gratefully
yes.
the $25,000 in the past, for the past 4 years, which contributes exactly half of what the fireworks show has cost us. Keeping in mind the past 4 years show at 50,000 has also come with some significant reductions from some of our local partners. So, for example, Bernard Barge Lines has been very generous and has waived their bill each year. It's about a $7,500 bill. So if you start adding those costs, the Dallas Concrete, other folks have donated equipment and various things, so the 50K can actually go towards fireworks. Had those inclusions not been donated, we'd be looking at a significantly smaller show for the same $50,000. So it isn't to say that the whole show costs 50, just the fireworks cost 50 for what we've done. Add these other costs in and it's significantly higher. We feel that through those partnerships we can still get those things donated, at least based on discussions. So the idea in this is that by asking for at least the fireworks portion to be paid in its entirety to bring those visitors in and to have that wonderful display, that we can then focus our bandwidth on the other things that Cynthia described and using our energy to bring more to the community. Right? So based around these two events, we'd be able to use some of the tourism dollars for exactly that and to bring in those additional tourists, but then use our bandwidth to bring in that extra layer that we feel is needed for both these things. So also, I would really clarify that what we're doing here and that we're discussing is really just around the fireworks side of things. What's happened with regard to the festival and the other concert series that has happened has been outside of this component, outside of, we're very closely tied together, but it's been outside of this budget, it's been outside of the requests that we made of the city. So that's something that I think there's been a bit of a gray area over time as to what's being contributed and what that's for. And so that would still occur. That individual donation, the business sponsorship that's helped to support that side of it, would still be intact, but for what it's gone to, which is the sort of festival and concert. So it's a big ask, we realize that. But it's a big event, and we feel, we walked through very carefully last year, making the decision to hold this event. I'll just say this before you ask me, before the 4th of July. It's not lost on this group that the 4th of July is as important of a holiday and celebration as it should be and as it is to our whole committee. But the decision to hold it the weekend prior was a decision made to try and bring in outside tourism and to grow that event. And we proved it. We actually had the largest number of ticket sales of any of the previous years, and having done that the weekend prior to, it allowed those folks that wanted to come to our area that had to maybe work on the 5th of July to come in and enjoy that weekend and then go back to where we came from. So at least we know that it worked, and we want that to work again.
We do have a couple of different numbers too, and Steve Light is here from Freebridge Brewing as well. He can speak to more of this if he has some additional questions for him. It's a little bit hard for us to quantify how many people come and watch the fireworks display, because that's something we're not ticketing. So we have to look at things like the concert or like the festival park and how many people came in, or who went to the run, or who came to the community breakfast. So we did look at some of the other downtown businesses as far as restaurants and bars, what their sales increase looked like. We saw that weekend, that Saturday, there's a 58% increase, and this is 2 different locations. That was a 58% increase in sales on Saturday, and we had a 45% increase in sales on Sunday. Then we also looked at difference between 2016, which was on the 4th of July, and the 2017 show, and that was also a 50% increase. So obviously, those numbers tell us that what we did worked as far as bringing in those outside dollars for the community. And that was ultimately our goal and what we wanted to showcase. I think we have a specific vision for what we want Fort Dallas's place to look like for 2018. We want to we'll finalize and establish the formal Mural Society in Fort Dallas Fourth as Fort Dallas's place. So we're currently working on getting that changed and getting the business registry changed and the paperwork that goes along with that. We've already had several meetings and we're working together with those groups and merging those. We're starting fundraising efforts and looking to kick off events starting with Memorial Day weekend. So Hometown USA Days, we want to start that weekend. We're looking at, again, hosting the fireworks show on June 30th. And our plan is to kick off really a 5-day celebration. So starting that event, do a concert on Saturday as well as the fireworks show. And then, again, hold activities throughout the rest of the week through the 4th. Because the 4th falls on a Wednesday this year, that's going to be another challenge. It's really not a good long weekend. It's going to break things up quite a bit. So we're going to have to play with that a little bit and see how that looks. But we would like to, on the 4th, host a community breakfast, a parade, the community picnic, some more things that we can do. So first, the run, well, actually, we might do the run on Saturday at break people anyway. Breakfast, all that. So there's a lot we can do to really expand and establish that. We also want to begin the restoration and the refurbishing project, so there's lots to do there with the murals. And then look at future enhancements, what other signs that we can look at, what are the other areas that really need some attention. And then that things will kind of wrap up as we go around to Veterans Day and we have held previously a free fireworks show for the Veterans Day salute. So that's sort of our vision for the 2018 and what we hope to, the big picture of what we hope to accomplish. So, questions?
Question?
It's a lot of information. We realize we're throwing a lot of information at you. That's why we wanted to give you the proposal, so hopefully you had some time to read through that and aren't just getting us pulled.
It seems like this is something that would go with our new Committee on Tourism, so it can be considered as part of the whole.
I don't know what you were asking, I'm sorry.
It was a statement, so do other council members think that this should go to the Tourism Committee so that we're looking at tourism as a whole, rather than case by case?
We did not establish a tourism committee, and the last time the city council discussed that, there was not enough interest, so I haven't pursued that. So
That's
that
still
would,
pending.
it would be something I could work through the budget if you gave me some direction as to what you were looking at, but we don't have a committee established.
We also, you were there, and the meeting we had with American Empress. I thought it was very interesting, some of the things that they talked about, wanting to partner with us. I was sitting there thinking, you know, this is just what that kind of a committee should be addressing, those kinds of issues, et cetera. So it did lead me to think that that's still a viable idea. Yeah, I think this is the kind of thing that needs to be addressed. I'm really happy that you're picking up the mantle on the murals. We were already looking at just sort of
Where that should go.
funding it in our budget, but not knowing what to do with it.
Yeah.
And to have citizens step up and say, look, you know, we're really interested and we want to help to that. My question is, you also talked about from May to November, and you kind of outlined that, but so you don't have events really at this point outlined for that period? It's just something you'll work into?
Well, this starts, we would still do some fundraisers leading up to start in May. Some things that would help offset some of these things we've listed in and the Fort Dallas Displays contribution portion of that. But really kicking things off with Hometown USA Day is the proclamation that was made, I think, 3, maybe 4 years ago. It was started in May, and that's when we began to hang the banners downtown along 2nd Street. And that's been a real hit. I mean, we've seen that increase. We'd love to see that, you know, go down the side streets. Right now, it's mainly been all of 2nd Street.
Right.
Some folks have renewed theirs and so forth, but understanding that we also have a limitation on what we can do downtown with ribbons and things of that nature. So we had to shift gears last year on that, and to lay all that stuff out downtown and then move it up to the Veterans Memorial up at the park, which was done. Thank you, ladies, for doing that. But that would sort of be the kickoff, you know?
And we're looking at discussing with other businesses, can we do, you know, specials, Memorial Day weekend, can we do a Gary Hummel Memorial Run that weekend? And that's the kind of things that we want to start really looking at. I mean, there's going to be a lot of additions to what the Mural Society might look like, or, you know, what the kickoff for that's going to be. So we're anticipating this spring is really being able to line those up and decide what that needs to be and where those fundraisers line out and how to make people involved in exactly what, you know, those got evidence and other forms.
And I think much of that does rely on this discussion.
This
Because, you know, right now, as it stands, based on previous years, all of our time focused on this is spent chasing $10 here, $20 there to make up for the difference, to put this on. So that's such a significant part of this request, is so that our bandwidth can be spent doing those other things and adding to this, and not just chasing this one thing. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it takes as everyone here knows, to organize anything, it's mostly a few people, right?
Right.
And that's what it's been, that's what it will likely continue to be. We ask for volunteers, we would love hundreds of people to join in, but the reality is it's much different than that. So much of what we hope and think the direction of things might go, so much of it does depend on making this request of the city.
Right.
And to know what that partnership looks like, what that contribution looks like, so that we can then really begin to make those plans. Yeah.
So, two more questions. The Fort Dallas displays, are you going to use the 6501c3 for the Mural Society and be able to then change the mission and keep that structure? Is that what you're aiming to do?
That's what we're aiming to do.
Yes.
Okay. And also, at the back, we respectfully request that you ask the city manager to include this request in the budget preparation for 2018. So that's always a problem. We've talked about this in years past, that you know, the fiscal year doesn't start until July 1, and
We've been hanging by a thread every year as it gets to that.
so that issue would need to be addressed.
Right, correct, yes.
Right.
And that's why we wanted to be here so soon.
So,
Any other questions?
Well, I did stop by to take a look at the boxes, and I do have a key,
Oh, you do, okay.
and I tried them all, and none of them work.
Okay, good to know.
But I do have some background in technology, and I would be interested in helping to get, maybe not that system, it's an older system, but something that's new,
Yeah,
that uses new technology, and also for hearing impaired.
yeah,
So we could do loop technology on a small,
I think we could
We'll
have,
go on YouTube, maybe we could add to
yeah,
the mix.
we could have some great, you know, an app downtown. I mean, I think the potential is really there, and I think that we have the resources that can really do that. And the infrastructure's already in place, and so I think that expanding that's really.
one more comment is, each year I would watch seniors graduate. I was a high school principal, and I told myself, I don't know how I'd ever replace these children as they move on into adulthood, but every year, someone else stepped up. And even though Gary Honnold was instrumental in many things in our community, we hope that there are other younger people out there that will step up and fill those shoes that Gary Honnold left. That's my hope,
These are big shoes to fill.
Yes,
They are.
As well.
and we do miss him.
We do miss him a lot.
yeah. And I would be glad, or Darcy maybe, the people we talked to from the American Impress, I think I'd like to put you in contact. They have special people for entertainment for their passengers, and they're really, their request was, you know, we'd like to do more in town, we'd like to coordinate more with you. So this is the kind of thing that, you know, it'd be something that, and you at least should communicate with them so they know what you're doing. They have this huge schedule all the way through 2019, which is very ambitious. And so we have a great opportunity to schedule events ahead of time, let them know about it, and maybe they can stay over an extra day or whatever, I don't know. Those things are, I think, still in the air. So,
Mr.
anybody
Mayor?
else?
I do actually have a concern about the amount of money that you're asking for, and I'm also not really clear if the citizens of the Dalles really want this. I enjoy it, but I saw a lot of comments on Facebook about people with PTSD, and, you know, just, there was kind of some back and forth, and so I'm concerned, you know, I thought 25,000 was kind of too much last year, that we're gonna do half the fireworks show, but now you're asking for us to pay 50,000 plus another 15,000 for the family festival, carnival, and the parade.
That would be,
No, no.
no, we're just asking for 20 for meals, that's all on us, the possible.
Okay. So, you know, I support the murals because that was something that we wanted to do and we decided was a priority as a council. And I like that we had that discussion. We haven't had one this year as far as what our priorities are. But I think $50,000 is a lot. And I know it's a really great fireworks, but, you know, we went from having nothing to the biggest. And we have some issues like the homeless and some other things that we need to squeeze into our budget somewhere. And I just want to be really thoughtful of how we're using our tax dollars. I'm not saying no, but I'm just saying I just want to see how it fits in with everything else.
Right, and that's why we really emphasize this as a tourism activity and something that, you know, isn't, when you look at those tourism countries and what you can do with that, you know, it's more specific in that regard versus some other things that the budget has to look at in overall. And to answer the point in terms of our veterans and their reaction, we've actually worked very closely over the last 4 years with Veteran Services and talked with many of those veterans and what their reaction is. And as long as they know that it's happening and as long as they know what the event is going to be like, they make arrangements and it has never been a problem. So most of that concern is, you know, addressing maybe what their reaction is going to be, but we've already made sure we've contacted them and
Perfect.
have done that. So, yeah, good question.
And certainly, we did field a lot of pushback, particularly with the date change last year.
Because it has to go on, drags on and on with other things.
Yeah, and certainly, you know, I appreciate that position. I also appreciate your position to watch out for the budget, and that's what you all should be here doing. This is why we're here making this ask. And it, you know, it is a big show. It does require a lot of dollars, a lot of effort, and that's sort of why I was relating to the fact that, you know, we can do a lot more with our energy on some of these other things than just fireworks, right? If that's covered off out of tourism dollars, it's going directly to that. And we're spending our time and energy to add to some other things in the community. So it's a matter of sort of balancing time in the day with focus on projects, and I feel like we can focus on some other good projects.
Was there some sort of award that you actually won, or are those marketing terms?
No, we did win the, it was, what was the Oregon Festival?
We're recognized at the Oregon Festival
And events,
Yeah. I
yeah,
can't remember what
conference.
the,
It was
yeah.
in
Both, yeah.
2016, we were recognized at.
Wow.
Yeah, they recognized us as, like, they highlighted us in their programming as somebody that had gone from nothing to having the biggest display in the state. And that's with all the biggest event productions you see in the state, things like the Waterfront Blues Festival and the Rose Festival and all the big stuff in Portland and some of the big stuff on the coast, and all those are represented there. And Heather, our representative, the president of Western Display, invited a couple of us. Cynthia and I went out, and they actually, in their big main program, they recognized the Dalles and our efforts for what we've been able to accomplish here.
Right.
So it's true.
All right, any other questions or comments?
This is just a tourism, it's a big event here in the community, other than the car cruise. I think our tourism dollars are well spent on this event.
Very well received.
I think it's a great event. But, you know, I look back to when this event started, and the original ask was for seed money to get it started, and every year we've contributed. And I got to be honest, I mean, like I said, I think it's a great event. When I looked at this, I went, oh my God, this can't be right.
We understand. And that's why
I think we need to work on it a little bit.
Yeah, we also can look at, if you're more comfortable with maybe not, we just broke out the fireworks because that was an easy thing to do. Because we write a check every year for $50,000 for the fireworks. If you would feel more comfortable paying, 25 for fireworks and 25 for something else, then we can do that. I mean, that's something we can absolutely discuss. That was just something that we did because it was an easy way to, an easy way for us to focus on. If we don't have to worry about fundraising those dollars and making sure that show goes off, then we can concentrate on all these other activities.
It translates directly to the size of the show, really.
Right, yes, exactly.
think-
If we don't want to do a $50,000 show,
I think we're all pretty much behind the restoration of the murals, because that's something everybody can enjoy year-round if they choose to. I think I would need to have a conversation about the $50,000.
One thing we know is that people will get off the boats, particularly like the architecture and the murals. And I'm sure all of us stop people from time to time and walk along the sidewalk and say, where you're from and what do you like about the Dalles? And when I do that, that's uniformly what I hear. And it's been a big concern of mine in what we do with the loss of Gary. So I'm really feeling positive about the ideas, and I thank you for bringing it to us. We have set our goals, and that'll guide us as we go into budget process. We have a budget committee that has the city council on it and has 5 citizen members. So, well, obviously they'll weigh in on it.
Well, thanks.
All right.
I know, and I really appreciate you having us. I would just add one more last comment to what you said, and just kind of reiterate what I had said earlier with regard to the amount of energy, as it directly relates to those fireworks and to those murals. That we still intend to make this as large of a fireworks show as we can to bring that draw. The less tourism dollars we're able to garner out of the city means more time spent from our group, which means less focus on those other things. So, I mean, I absolutely, understand your comment, but it's simply that balance between what time and energy we have. And if we can get more citizens and volunteers to come together on all these things, great. It's been hard for us in the last 4 years to get people to actually step up.
and our focus did change from the original ask in
Oh,
2014.
I understand.
Leadership changed and our entire committee changed, so we realized that was a one-time thing and
Yeah.
turned into, here we are
It's
again.
not a bad thing.
I understand that, yeah, so, but no, we are aware of those historical things.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you very much. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject which does not appear on the agenda. 5 minutes per person will be allowed. If a response by the city is requested, the speaker will be referred to the city manager for further action. The issue may appear on a future meeting agenda for city council consideration. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council on something that's not on the agenda? We got a hand back there. Would you come forward?
No, really. 5 minutes? Is that what you're telling me?
You have up to 5 minutes.
Up to, oh my. Okay.
You don't have to use it all.
I'm sure I will. Okay, top of 4th Street grade again. 1117, 3 times has had her mirror knocked off. And the thing about it up there, it needs to be slowed down. And most people do not report anything because they don't insurance. And also, you know, the black kitty is dead now. We lost 2 dogs out there, jumped out of the car, ran out in the street. You know, on the corner, we have the rose garden. Do you know what the rose garden is? Yeah. Okay, so, they're set up on the roof all the time, taking their drugs every day. One guy who I really, really like a lot. He comes over, he tells me, Rose, we got cooking today. Next day, that day, I give him work in the yard to do because I like him a lot. He's crazy, nuts, but I like him. There's something about him, you know, I really like. And, okay, make it fast. Okay, the people that moved in the house next door. Okay. Anyway, that's a whole nother trip. Anyway, okay, this is right where my bedroom is. They have a dog that jumps up on the fence. The loudest dog I was raised on a farm, okay? I have never heard a dog bark this loud. Sometimes I have to sleep in my living room, right? So I can't park on the street. I got my cone here. Okay. In fact, I got a picture. This is my window, right here. Bedroom, window. Got 2 bedrooms there. The dog is always out here. And thank God the police. I will always be a police supporter. I scream bloody murder because I always look, I drive down, drive in front to make sure it's not out. Sometimes it's in the back, I pull in the driveway, which is really tight now. We asked the guy not to do it because of ice. He said, both of them, him and his wife, said they would not do it, that they would move the fence around. It's real easy to see here where he could have done it, and then there wouldn't have been any fear at all of us hitting the fence here. So they look at us, my husband and I, and say, we'd be glad to do that, move it around. We can understand what your problem is. Okay, because of the dog, I have to go out with my cone and put it in the street, wash my car, because we can't do it in our driveway because of the dog. And trust me, I called the police, there's dog catcher, I called everybody. Okay, here's my backyard. See? He told me he was gonna take this fence down like this. Nope, you can't take it down, that's the way it was when we bought it. So the dog jumps up on the fence. I have so many witnesses, including police. Jumps up on the fence and with that loud bark. It's startling. My husband had a heart attack on the golf course. And the first month, my God, I thought he was gonna have another heart attack. I mean, seriously, pains constantly. And it's very frightening. Anyway, so it needs to be slowed down. I don't know if you saw in the news, West Hills in Portland, Northwest Alameda. They moved them down to 20 to save accidents in Portland. Okay, that's my beef.
Okay.
Look, what is your address, Rose?
My address is 1107 East 9th. And that, right on the other side of that, their dog barks all the time, but it's not as loud, and because I'm one house away, it's not as bad. But the woman had to move out because she couldn't stay there. The mother had to move out because of that loud barking dog. 1117 is the next house. She's had 3 years, and she can't park in the back anymore because the man put up a fence so that she can't park back there and get it off the street. And, you know, there's much more I can tell you, but, you know, I only got 5 minutes.
You did well.
Thank you. All right, so what are you gonna do about it?
I guess Counselor McLaughlin will be our point person.
I'll take the point. I'll take the point on that.
Also, Attorney Dick, he drives down that street. He pulls over, he says, I don't know how in the heaven you can handle it here. He says, we can hear that dog barking in my house or wherever he lives or his daughter's house. I kind of got a little confused there. But, you know, everybody lives on that block in front of my house. Everybody says, oh yeah, I know. The dog guy comes over one time in the backyard. I mean, you think these guys are tired? I think they're tired, because I tell you, it's all the time. My husband today went out to go golfing. He goes out and get to the end of the porch and wow, the dog starts in again. I mean, this is ridiculous. Plus, he told me when he moved in that he had 2 loaded guns in his house.
So
And he works for
we
the
did
city.
say on his participation prelude that if a response is required, it will be referred to the city manager. Is that okay with you?
I don't care who you refer to. You can refer it to anybody as long as it gets slowed down. Why should we keep going on every step, I mean, for years? It's been this way. 29 recorded. 29, one block. And most of them, people just say, hey, I'll take care of it, 'cause I don't want it on, you know. I don't want my insurance going up. Well, that's fine, I'm just, you know, as long as you do it, you know.
Okay.
It's really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
You know, you live there at night, you got people driving by, the windows are going like this, you got a nut dog over here. Not only that, but all those people that live in that building, I'm surprised that building, to be quite honest. Because that's all I hear, is what Doug says. Over and every time he comes over here, guess what?
All right, thank you.
Who gave it to you? That's what I say. Give me the name.
Anybody else?
I got the name too, by the way. Uh-oh. Am I done?
Yes, you're done.
Goodbye.
Name and address?
Brian LaRock, 710 East Second Street, and 7, anyways, whatever, don't matter. So anyways, I missed the town hall meeting last Monday about homeless people. And I'd like you to introduce Kurt. About a year ago, I got involved with the Center Living. And Michelle came up to me and said, I'd like to have you guys, help work with you. And so I took him under my wing and I met Kurt and took him, and so he helps me down at Route 30. He helps me down at Growler Holster once in a while. I introduced him to Chuck Gomez. He helped getting that place up and running at their Granada. Now he has a house, he has a car. He's actually started seeing his son again. He's been homeless for how many years?
It started for me in 2009 when I was actually working for Sage Tech, making the avionics antennas for the drone planes for Afghanistan. I worked there for a year and a half. Most of the company got laid off in fall of 2009. So I got the layoff, I couldn't meet the mortgage, lost my marriage of 15 years, including custody of my son, who was 3 at the time. And that started my homelessness. I went back to California and due to my homelessness, I started incurring infractions, and actually, if you want to call it that, I started my criminal career because of the homeless offenses that I regularly encountered on the way. 3 different vehicles containing everything I had at the time were confiscated. So it was always a stop and start deal. And finally in 2013, after a lengthy stay, almost a year for a charge I didn't do, I came back up here to Hood River. My whole family's been up here since 1980. Unfortunately, my mother and father both had died while I was in jail. And my mother left me some money. So I got back up on my feet and got to see my son again. And I would just say, as far as the homeless problem goes, medication is the key to the problem there. I'd say most of those people on the street, if you could get them the right medicine and give them a leg up, they could probably get out of their situation. Of course, there's some people that are chronic and they like the street, and I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people in my situation that got put into this situation, never thinking it would happen to me. You know, that old saying about one check being, you're only 2 checks away from homelessness. It's really true, and I found out the hard way. But thanks to Brian and people like Chuck and the Center for Living in particular, I've made a really remarkable comeback, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful to be a citizen of the Dalles rather than just a stumbling bum up there.
Right.
So that's what we're saying, and so instead of just pointing at fingers at everybody, let's just help one person like I did Kurt.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, instead of they're sitting at home saying, oh, this and this and this, you just say, hey, what do you need? And that's what I kind of did with him, and now he's a real good friend. I call him up anytime I need any assistance, and he does the same thing with me. It works really well. I mean, now he is actually a citizen of the Dalles, and he's looking forward to.
I even got to perform at the Granada the first night.
Yes.
I don't know if you got, if anybody went, but
Yeah.
I was playing with the Cowboy Poet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first night, yeah. And he plays at my place once in a while too, you know, so. Anyways, I meant to do that last weekend, and Kurt wanted to go out and tell everybody about his story, because he is the, you know, yeah, I'm pretty proud of him. That's why I feel like I wanted to bring him here, because I missed it last Monday. And since it's still fresh in everybody's mind, there's Kurt. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Mark.
Isetta, could you turn that air conditioner down just a fuzz? Up or something.
Mark Linebarger, 324 East 14th, Dallas. I first want to apologize to the council for wrongly stating that not all of you guys reached out to me the last time I was here. When I met with Councilman McLaughlin, I did not realize that he was a liaison to for the council. In saying that, I had a good meeting with some of the councilors and got their points of view and on matters that I was concerned with. And I was hoping that the mayor would take the time to talk to me too, which didn't happen. This even after when the mayor at the last council meeting asked me if I expected to talk to all the council members. I didn't think I needed to be more clear than I was, that I wanted to talk with him. I even told Councilor McLaughlin that I wanted to talk to him, being the liaison to the council. I still haven't heard from the mayor. I had received a call from Mr. Lawrence, but that was a while ago, years ago actually, and that was because he wanted something from me. So I know he knows how to reach me, but I still haven't heard from him. This isn't the forum I really want to have. This is a public forum that's for a lot of people, and it's not a comfortable place for me to be. I'm more comfortable one-on-one, as other council members have gotten. I got my ideas across and understood where they're coming from. So I really would like to have communication with you, Steve, and I would like you to talk to me.
You know, we can do that. I mean, it's not like I'm saying I'm not going to talk to you. Part of the problem is You know, if everybody came up here one after another and said, you know, I want to talk to the mayor, that's what I would be doing 24/7. I felt like the council members could listen to you, could relay your concerns, which happens a lot. They serve in representative situations and they bring that information back to us. I'll be glad to talk to you.
Yeah, like I said, that's my main goal.
Okay.
And so I leave it to you to contact me?
I know where you are.
Yeah, everybody does. Okay, thank you then.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, next we have the city manager's report.
I have no report this evening, thank you.
All right, city attorney report.
Thank you, Mayor Lawrence. A couple items. Working, I think it is. Sorry. I met today with, or worked with Garrett McAllister, our new planner, on a request for proposals for updates to the vision action plan. And I saw Garrett here earlier. I don't know if he's still here or not, but we're looking at March for a date to advertise that for people to respond to that RFP, so that should be going out. I've also been working with our airport manager, Chuck Covert, on a couple leases for the airport. One involving a grazing lease at the airport that we need to update, and also the Lifelight hangar lease. We sent a draft of the master lease that we had got approved by the EDA back in December, and unfortunately we didn't hear back from Lifelight till the first part of February with some changes that they've requested. So we're working now on getting those changes hopefully approved by the EDA, and hopefully we'll get that lease to you later this month to get approval so that they can get into the space in March. So we're working on it, but it's taking a little time between Lifelight and the EDA.
Okay, is that it?
Yep.
Councilor Brown.
Strangely enough, I have a little story I'd like to share because, well, it's really been an exceptional experience for me. I was contacted recently by a member of the Museum Commission and asked to take a look at a retaining wall at the Anderson House near the Fort Dalles Museum. It was a wall that was built in the 70s, I believe, and it had pretty much fallen completely. It was a wooden retaining wall, so you can imagine what kind of shape the wood was in. And after I was asked to meet him there, I also asked Dave Anderson, our Public Works Director, to join us in hopes that maybe I could suck him into helping on that project. And Fred Davis from the county, because the city and county are kind of partners on the museum.
They own 75% of the buildings and land.
Yeah, but anyway, there were other members of the Museum Commission and I can't remember who else was there, but it was a really good meeting. Everybody talked to everybody. The problem was the Museum Commission didn't have a big budget. They checked into the price of a natural rock wall, which would have made a really nice feature for the Anderson House, but it was about $20,000, which was quite a bit more than they had. And we agreed that possibly a what do they call those blocks, Dave?
Eco block.
Eco blocks, wall with a pattern on them that they call it random stack, that kind of looks like rock a little bit, would probably work. And then shortly thereafter, Mortensen Construction, who's doing the upgrade on our sewer treatment plant, contacted Dave, I believe, and expressed an interest in doing something for the community in appreciation for the work that they're doing for us. And I guess it's something they've done elsewhere regularly. And anyway, the whole thing came together, and Mortensen's going to pay for the bulk of the materials as well as pouring some concrete walls. The Public Works Department's going to do the mass excavation and set the blocks for us. And so the museum's going to end up with a really nice product with very little cash outlay. And it's kind of the way things used to happen when something needed to get done. I'm not really into warm fuzzy stories, but this one really got to me. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that the wall in front of the Anderson House, probably within the next 45 days, will be done, and it should be reasonably attractive, certainly more so than the wooden posts that were there before. That's my report.
Great, thank you.
Nice job.
Councilwoman Long Curtis?
Okay, so I'm gonna give a disclaimer. I wrote this before the meeting, before Mark spoke. The first thing on my list is that I had 7 constituent meetings since the last meeting. I also attended an urban renewal meeting by telephone, and I attended the Home Fires Burning, which is for veterans. It's the widows and support people. And I also have been volunteering at the Veterans Service Office. And of course, I was at the town hall, I think everybody was. And I participated in the Step It Up students. And I don't know about the other schools, but Dry Hollow had 22 students walking to school. So it's pretty impressive how many. And then I attended the American Queen Steamboat meeting.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilwoman McLaughlin?
I did attend the exclusionary zone meeting on the 5th, and I do thank you, Summit, Bohannon, Storm, for being there, and also streaming the meetings here, and the meetings. I did get quite a few contacts from people on the net through social media or personal contacts, so thank you very much for being here and donating your time. The airport, I did receive a message from Jim Wilcox, president of the commission, and briefly it talks about everything's running smoothly, transition is going very well, but I think the highlight that I'd like to mention is no operational disruption has been experienced or is anticipated. A meeting between manager, city staff, and representative of the Airport Commission is anticipated soon to set operating procedures that will enhance good communication among entities. A ribbon cutting open house for Flex Space and new FBO is tentatively planned for Saturday, March 24th. Respectfully submitted. And as I was passing Cirrhosis Park, I noticed a man was raking the leaves out in the park and putting them into piles, and Parks and Rec staff was picking them up. And I stopped to ask him what he was doing, and his name is David Needling. And I found out that not only does he help there, but in Pioneer Cemetery, he works there, and at the Riverfront Trail, he patched the cracks in the trail. These are the type of individuals that we talk about stepping forward, and we do appreciate. This is a shout out for David Needling.
And those patches on the Riverfront Trail are at his expense.
Yeah, I believe that gentleman's in his 80s.
Yes.
More people like this will make our city a better place, and we do thank him. So that ends my report.
All right, Councilwoman Miller.
Okay, I attended the urban renewal meeting on the 30th of January and the town hall exclusionary discussion and the tourism cruise boat discussion.
All right, Councilman Elliott.
I attended the Q-Life meeting on the 25th, and we had some visitors from the city of Maupin. As you know, we've been talking about the Connect Maupin project with fiber optic for a while, and the funding gap that we're trying to bridge. But some of these people came in basically to kind of testify with the issue that they have with their internet out there. And once basically school's out, they compare their internet connection to what we all remember as dial-up. They can't stream movies, they can't look at pictures, they can't do anything of the sort. And we've all heard about the Connect America program, but there seems to be a big disconnect with that program. How companies like CenturyLink have received the funds and said that they've turned up those speeds, but those speeds aren't getting anywhere. So it's unfortunate, but now we have partnered with MCED to see if we can get some grants and really try to spur this program forward. So hopefully this spring we'll have a real answer as to how we're going to fix the problem in the near future. So
Are they still microwaving that signal to Maupin?
Supposedly, they upgraded the line somewhere around the Timberline area, and that was supposed to help increase, but they still are microwaving, from that point forward, so. Anyhow.
That's not always reliable.
No. So we talked about a few options, and we are actually going back out to RFP to see if we can get somewhat of a backbone built, and we kind of laid it out there to see if the citizens of Maupin are willing to pitch in as well. What's it worth to them? Because some of the gap is really not that significant when you think about what needs to be done, especially when there's partners like GorgeNet that want to be out there.
What about Dufur? Who is covering Dufur? How are they getting their service?
North State Telephone.
Yeah, or Telco, North State, I can't remember what they're called these days, but they have their own network.
So that's a DSL?
I'm not for certain. I thought that was fiber optic actually through.
It's all fiber optic.
Through Highway 44 or something like that nature. Anyhow, I also attended the town hall, and I did have one comment, if Mr. Linebarger is still here. Is he? No, okay. I was just gonna share that, all of our names, numbers, and email addresses are on the website, so anybody that wants to contact us at any time about any matter, feel free to extend that arm.
Well, let's say not past 10 o'clock.
Noted. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. The looking for grants and that sort of thing, would that be potentially federal funding?
We're gonna actually try to source both.
The reason why is, the outreach team, if that's something that can be initiated prior to going back to DC, it would be very important to go contact the right agency.
Yeah,
So
on our
we,
last trip, we worked that really hard,
Yeah.
and we got basically everything we could do. Now it's on our end.
And so Darcy sits on Q Life with me. I mean, we're down to a gap of 500,000, and in the entirety of that whole project, it's pretty small potatoes, but still, Q Life doesn't have the budget to do that, or doesn't have the wherewithal to want to pull that out of our contingency, so.
Okay. All right, just because you had a warm and fuzzy, I'm gonna give a warm and fuzzy. Nikki Lesage, who's an employee here, stopped me one day and said, was I aware that the people who are putting together the cup of mud across from the chamber had been burglarized, and they had lost all of their money, and they'd lost their tip money, and it almost looked like an inside job because there wasn't anything broken into. It looks like somebody had a key. And would I go over there? And so I thought that was a great idea. I went over there and I was able to talk to the woman, and what she said was there was information on Facebook, and people had been driving in all day and buying coffee and leaving huge tips. So I thought, wow, what a good example of this community just stepping up, and she was very grateful, and obviously I bought a big cup of coffee and gave her a hug and assured her that anything we could do, let us know. Just a real sad situation. They're out there busting their hump to try to create a business, and somebody does that, but the community responded really well. I addressed the chamber board since the last meeting on the issue of tourism. I attended the LCDC roundtable, which was something held in Hood River, and members of governmental entities and agencies around the gorge were invited to come and talk to the LCDC board, who was out here. And a lot of the conversation was around housing and economy, and it was really interesting because they were sort of saying, here we are, what do you want us to know? And we got a good opportunity to say, some of these rules that you have really prevent us from solving our housing problem. So you might want to think about that. And there was a lot of other conversation about the economy. I thought it was a really good example of going out in the community and listening. They had 3 tables with 3 issues, and people went from the 3 tables, and so that we had 3 opportunities to go one to each table and participate with different board members and talk about the issues. Of course, I attended the outreach team, and we talked about both lobbying nationally and at the state level. The short legislative session is going on right now. I was invited by the fourth graders in the Catholic school and had a wonderful time. Always do when I talk to kids. They ask the darndest questions, so it's always fun, and I get hugs. And then I met with Scott Hagee, who's commissioner for the county, simply to touch bases, have an opportunity to say what's going on with the county, talk about what's going on with the city, make sure we're communicating. I attended the McCog meeting where we're still talking about closing. Hopefully we'll try to get things done by the end of June. That's our goal. I attended the Maritime Safety Award luncheon, and they received from OSHA the Star Award, which has only been given to 21 companies in Oregon, and only 2,000 companies nationally have received it. They received it 7 times. Interestingly enough, in those 7 times, they've only been attended by 2 mayors, and I asked who was the other mayor, and it was John Mabry. There's a big gap in between, so I was happy I was there. And then last, of course, we've talked about it already, I was at the discussion with American Empress, which I thought was very good. So the next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Items of a routine and non-controversial nature are placed on the consent agenda to allow the city council to spend its time and energy on the important items and issues. Any councilor may request an item be pulled from the consent agenda and be considered separately. Items pulled from the consent agenda will be placed on the agenda at the end of the action item section. So today we have approval of the January 22, 2018 regular city council meeting minutes and approval of the January 22 city council work session meeting minutes. That was the same day, earlier in the day. So do I have a motion regarding the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Now is the time specified for the city council to conduct a public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing tonight is to consider the following matter. General Ordinance Number 18-1765, an ordinance granting land use and development ordinance amendment number 96-17 and comprehensive plan amendment number 43-17 for property located at 3319 West 10th Street and declaring an emergency. The relevant criteria upon which the city council will base its decision in this matter are contained in the city's comprehensive plan and the city's land use and development ordinance. A public hearing is required by law and certain rules apply. First and foremost, you must be recognized by the chair in order to speak and present testimony. The hearing is required by law to be tape recorded. When recognized by the chair, please proceed to the microphone and state your name and mailing address for the record. Generally, the public hearing procedure is as follows. A. Prior to the public hearing, a determination will be made of the qualifications of the council members and allow for challenges from the audience. I will open the public hearing with a staff report. The purpose of the staff report at this point is to further identify the applicable criteria of the case being considered and to provide background information about the case. After the staff report, we will hear testimony from the applicant. After the appellant has finished presenting their testimony, we will hear testimony from other persons who are in favor of the proposed zoning ordinance amendment and comprehensive plan amendment. Next, there will be testimony from the opponents, those not in favor of the proposed zoning ordinance amendment and comprehensive plan amendment. Next, there will be testimony from anyone else who is not in favor of or opposed to the zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan amendment, but who wishes to offer testimony or who has a question. Then to honor the right of rebuttal, boy, this sounds like a Court of Appeals argument. We will again hear from the applicant. To expedite the hearing, the council members may each have questions of persons as they testify. When this process has been concluded, we will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. So during the hearing, some important standards will apply. First of all, those who testify must hold their testimony to the decision criteria. As in all land use hearings, there are a complete set of rules, procedures, and criteria we must follow. Second, failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the council members and the parties an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Third, the failure of an appellant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with detail specific enough to allow the city to respond to the issue precludes any action for damages in the circuit court. Fourth, prior to the conclusion of the public hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the appeal. If such a request is made, the law states the council must grant the request by either continuing the hearing to a time and date at least 7 days from the date of the hearing, or the record must be kept open for a period of at least 7 days. Those are the rules. Are there any questions?
Does that really have to be that long?
Yes.
It does.
Believe me, I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't required. Now I must go through some more steps. So I'm going to ask the following question of the council members. Have any members of the council had an ex-parte contact or conflicts of interest or bias which would not allow them to render an impartial decision on this matter?
No.
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 Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if I were friends with not the applicant, but the present owner, would that be any kind of a potential conflict?
Only if you had had discussions with that person about the application specifically, that would be something you'd have to disclose. The mere friendship by itself would not.
Thank you.
Second question. This is of the audience. Does anyone in the audience wish to challenge the qualifications of any member of the council? Keep your hand down. Okay, so at this time I'm going to declare the public hearing open, and I'll ask for the staff report.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Councilors. I am presenting tonight's staff report for Steve Harris. He was unable to be here. The issue, as you stated, is for General Ordinance number 18579, which is an ordinance granting a zoning ordinance amendment and a comprehensive plan amendment for property located at 3319 West 10th Street and declaring an emergency. The applicant is not here tonight, but he does have a representative. And Chris Rogers has filed for a zone change and comprehensive amendment request for property located on West 10th Street. The property has been a mobile home park since about the 1950s, which is actually precludes foreign land use. So the zone that it is now, the zoning came in a little bit later. So right now, the zoning is commercial light industrial, and the use is what we consider an existing non-conforming use. On November 16th, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing, and they read the same rules that you just read. And then following that meeting, they directed staff to prepare a resolution which was recommending the approval of the zone change and comprehensive plan amendment to be brought before to you guys. In terms of some more background, the applicant is actually in the process of purchasing the property from the current owners, which are Michael and Pamela Manning, with the intent of making site improvements to allow for placement of additional manufactured homes. Chris has plans to do an additional either multifamily and or manufactured home development there. That is a separate application process, and that is not what we're going to be discussing tonight. Approval of the zone change and plan amendment would allow for this expansion of the manufactured dwelling park as well as additional residential uses. The zone change. The subject properties along the southerly side of Hostetler Street and West 10th Street are currently zoned commercial light industrial. It's kind of a swath that goes up Hostetler and across 10th Street. And everything around that property is zoned either residential medium density. The school district actually has what we call a community facility overlay on the property, but the underlying zone is actually residential. The review before the planning commission, rezoning requests are subject to review criteria that is established in our LUDO. And the zone change shall be granted if there are certain criteria that are met. The criteria that were discussed: conformance, which is the proposed zone change conforms to the comprehensive plan, including the transportation system plan and all provisions of that ordinance. Suitability, the site is adequate in size and shape for uses normally allowed by the proposed zone. Streets and traffic, the site is or will be adequately served by streets and types of volume of traffic generated by the uses and may be permitted for the new zone. And plan function, capacity, and performance standards as adopted by the transportation system plan. And adverse effects, proposed zone change will have minimal adverse effects on existing and future surrounding developments. The Planning Commission's opinion was that the request as submitted satisfied the criteria established, and that the adopted resolution incorporated the above findings for those criteria. The comprehensive plan amendment, in addition to the zone change application, the applicant has requested that an amendment be made to the property comprehensive plan land use designation. So the current land use designation is also commercial light industrial, which would correspond to the land use designation of commercial light industrial for zoning. The requested amendment is to residential medium density, which is consistent with the requested residential medium density zoning. The residential density designation, so the density requirement is 7 to 17 dwelling units per acre, which would allow for a build out for that development of up to 45 dwellings. So if he took and tore down the park there, he could actually do a multifamily dwelling units, multiple units on that site. Last year, as you guys are familiar, the Planning Commission and the City Council reviewed and accepted 3 consultant-prepared reports addressing our housing needs, which are addressed within our community. The reports included the buildable lands inventory, housing and residential land needs assessments, as well as our housing strategies report, which examined our current and future housing needs of the community, as well as our community's ability to meet these needs. One of the implementation measures, as identified in the housing strategies report, recommended the expansion of our RM zone, which is our residential medium density, in which the designation was to provide additional opportunities for a variety of housing types, which could include multi as well as single family and manufactured housing. Approval of this subject request would address that recommendation. In terms of economic development considerations, at the Planning Commission, we did have some detailed discussion that dealt with our Oregon statewide Goal 9, which deals with the loss of the commercial light industrial zone land. A couple commissioners have some discussions regarding what that actually would mean and what it could do for that statewide goal. Staff reported, or in the staff report, we prepared some detailed analysis of the zoning and the uses for both industrial as well as residential. And it is staff's opinion that the loss of a 2.68 acre commercial light industrial zone parcel of land would have minimal impact on the community's economic development sector. So basically what we're saying is, or what states in the staff report is that the excess of industrial lands that we currently have in place that is underdeveloped meets that requirement. Council, staff is making a recommendation to City Council that you move to adopt the general ordinance number 18-579, granting the zoning ordinance amendment and comprehensive plan amendment for property located at 3319 West 10th Street and declaring an emergency. Does council or mayor have any questions?
Any questions by council member? I have a question on page 4 under economic development consideration. There's reference to a 2011 economic development opportunities analysis, which said that there's a current surplus of industrial land. I found that almost dumbfounding when all we talk about are how much, little industrial land we have. Is that really a finding?
Well,
In 2011.
In 2011, yes, and what it is the percentage, and what we're looking for to keep our economic development is a volume or a percentage at a statewide level is, I can't even, drawing a blank right now with the percentage, but in terms of a residential area or a community, residential, or the economic development area, sorry, my mind's going 100 miles an hour, the economic area which we want industrial uses and industrial lands to be, which are family wage jobs and typically have a higher employee number, we need to have a certain percentage, and protection of those industrial lands is extremely important. So at that time in 2011, obviously we didn't have some of the large developers that we've got, or developments that are actually in our industrial zone. So I think that is true. We still do have some very underdeveloped or large undeveloped, which is the old Northwest Aluminum Plant property that is currently not developed. So in terms of that was the analysis that Steve provided in the staff report.
Yeah, I would just surprise, I mean, I would expect to say we have adequate amount, but not a surplus. That was,
And as of now, that may be a little bit more accurate. I
Yeah.
would definitely.
okay, any other questions?
I just have a statement to make. I moved into the Dalles in 1958. That property was a mobile home park. At that time, it has always been a mobile home park. So to have it light industrial is, I don't understand why it was ever coded as that.
And that was some of the questions that arose in some conversations. It was like, why was that zoned originally that way? Staff will be looking at making some modifications with our amendments that we're looking to do based upon our housing needs
Right.
strategies. So those will be happening.
Yeah, we're waiting for those.
Yeah, they're coming. And honestly, just total sidebar, that has always been such a well-maintained. Yeah, I've always just thought it's cute as a button. It's just a great little location. It's kept up, it looks wonderful, so.
And it used to be farmland all around.
All around it, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I think that barn, I think it finally took it down not long ago.
Any questions, any more questions of staff? All right, so at this time, I'll ask for the appellant's testimony. It says appellant. It should be applicant.
Applicant.
I read what's in front of me. Is there somebody representing the applicant here?
He couldn't be here because of some family matters.
So there's no testimony being offered?
I think his purpose is just to purchase it and keep it as is and potentially add some more housing.
Do you want to come up?
I think somebody needs to come up and say that at least on the microphone to satisfy the requirements of this process.
Sorry. My name is Connie Tamacy. My address is 6256 Highway 30 West.
Thank you.
Dalles.
And what you said there, would you repeat it?
So the purpose of the buyer purchasing this property is that he intends to, as far as I know, keep it as it is and then add some additional housing.
Great. Okay. Any questions from the council? All right. So, then, following that, I'm to ask for testimony from persons who are opposed to the, it says appeal, but I'll put application. And if so, come to the microphone and give your name and address. Anyone here? All right. Now, are there any persons who are not opposed to the application but who wish to present testimony in support of it? All right. So, there's no need for a rebuttal. So, at this time, this is the conclusion of all the testimony, and I'll ask the council if they feel they have enough information to make a decision.
Yes.
All right. And so if you would like to proceed, then the public hearing. This matter is now closed. It is time for the council's deliberation on this matter. Do you know what do you want me to read this recommendation?
Well, the staff's recommendation is to ultimately to adopt the proposed ordinance. That would be the action we'll be asking. Yeah, and the ordinance would be general ordinance number 18-1765. The ordinance we'll be asking you to adopt.
Okay. Is there anyone who wishes the ordinance to be read in full?
No.
All right. Will the clerk please read the title of the ordinance?
General Ordinance Number 18-1765, an ordinance granting land use and development ordinance amendment number 96-17 and comprehensive plan amendment number 43-17 for property located at 3319 West 10th Street and declaring an emergency.
Okay, at this time, the council can make a motion to adopt the ordinance by title only. Since the ordinance has an emergency clause, at least 3 council members will have to vote for the ordinance for it to be effective. I have a motion.
I move to adopt special ordinance number 18-1765. General ordinance. General ordinance 18-1765, an ordinance granting land use and development ordinance amendment number 96-17 and comprehensive plan amendment 43-17 for property located at 3319 West 10th Street and declaring an emergency.
I'll second that.
All right, been moved and seconded to accept the recommendations of staff as stated. Is there any further discussion?
For the record, let me say that was to be a motion by title only also.
Yeah.
Oh, by title only.
Is the second approved that by title only? Yes. All right, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you. Next item is a action item. General ordinance number 18-1764, amending general ordinance numbers 88-1084, 93-1166, 91-1127, 12-1324, 06-1266, 07-1284, and several other ordinances. So at this time, I'll ask for the presentation of staff report.
I'll be handing that Mayor Lawrence as soon as my house catches up with me here. Sorry, just a second. This is essentially what we, Isaiah and I refer to, I guess, colloquially as the cleanup ordinance. This is sort of the final step in the process of our codification to clean up and amend several of our existing ordinances. We've worked with a company, Quality Code Publishing, who will be codifying all of our ordinances into a city code and putting it on our website so people can access that. They made several recommendations as part of their process, and that's why you have all these ordinances with you tonight. So we'll try to go through them. I apologize because this is my penance for giving the mayor the long script. Now it's my turn to talk at length.
I want to start with questions because it is housekeeping.
Okay, we can do that.
We don't need to go through every single.
Yeah, I don't know for the audience if they need to know specifically what they are. I think we included the text that would be stricken, and you saw that. So if you have any specific questions, we can go through that. Whatever your pleasure is.
Well, I had some questions, just probably a point of information, but one is, what is the referral to the retention schedule for keeping documents? I don't know that I saw what it exactly was, and is that able to be explained in a few words?
Essentially what that is, the Secretary of State creates the retention schedule for city records statewide, and we've adopted that schedule. And so now we are just proposing to state that we will adopt that schedule, and then as they adopt it, we refer to that schedule. We'll keep a current copy available so people can look at it. It's essentially administrative rule that they.
But does it vary depending on the type of document?
It can, they can change it.
Okay.
We would keep a current schedule up so that whenever someone came in, we could give them the current schedule that's in effect at that time and be able to refer to it.
The other thing that, I guess that I thought, was sort of striking, as I read through this, fines, which had been around $500, suddenly jumped to $12.50 uniformly throughout this. And it seems to me like a pretty large jump, and it's always $12.50 wherever it's cited. Why has that jump been made?
Primarily because, again, those fines, some of them date back to even the 1980s or 1990s, and the state of Oregon increased fines substantially for state offenses, and I felt it would be consistent for us to try to at least keep current with what the state's imposing in terms of maximum fines. And the council can reduce that if we feel it's too excessive. But I felt that given some of these ordinances have been on the books for longer than 20 years, some of the fines I thought were maybe out of date in terms of what other courts have been imposing.
My concern was the library fine.
Yeah, and that's what state law allows. Again, we don't necessarily have to do that if you have a concern. That's what the state does allow. It is.
So other libraries in the state are charging $1,250 if you're late 30 days?
I didn't have a chance to talk to Jeff Warren to find out if other cities are. I don't know. Again, if you want to change that number, we can certainly do that. If you're concerned about the amount.
Well, it's the same thing with failure to pay delinquent storm utility charges. It could be that somebody didn't pay them because they're destitute, and now you're gonna add $1,250. I mean, I don't know. It seems to me like a lot of money. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I just thought that was a lot of money for some of these issues that are in here.
I understand the uniformity, but if somebody's late in bringing back, or over 30 days late in bringing back a book at the library, doesn't necessarily mean you have to charge them $12.50.
That's correct. That's the maximum fine. It does not mean
Okay.
that would automatically be. That is
Right. Okay.
the maximum penalty. That's basically for all the fines. That's the maximum amount. It's not
Not necessarily what we charge them.
So there is
Okay.
flexibility. There is flexibility.
Sure, yeah, so the judge has.
I don't have a problem with it personally.
Okay, all right.
I should have probably made that clear that that is not going to be the minimum that was proposed in every case. That's the maximum penalty that the court could impose.
The other thing is, page 7, which is on page 3, number 13, general ordinance number 12-1327 concerning dog control. You refer to Home at Last and changing it to the new entity, which is Central Oregon Animal Friends, but my understanding is they were keeping the name Home at Last. So I'm not sure that's accurate or isn't accurate.
I went back to look at their proposal, and I believe I thought I read that they were going to actually operate under the name of Central Oregon Friends.
No, they're going to keep the name of Home at Last.
The last I spoke to them, they said they were keeping it at home.
Okay, well, we can change that back to Home at Last again. That would be just a minor
Do you have to
change.
reference the name, or can you just say animal shelter? Get generic future.
Right now, I mean, it's operated by a private entity, so we'll see what that language is.
But you could just say the entity.
They have on their sign says Humane Society. It says Home at Last Humane Society, maybe that would be generic enough to identify it.
Is that mean?
Yeah, it's page 3.
Why don't we just exclude it from the list, and since it'll go back to the regular, we just won't approve that, we can vote on that separately.
I think you need to get it approved so we can get the codification moving forward, otherwise we'll be weeding out.
Right, but if we pull it out and we vote to not pass the change as Jean presented it, then it goes back to the way it is currently, which is correct for codification.
That part, there was still some other language that they were proposing about referring to the dogs having permanent teeth or that option again was some language they recommended, the very first part of it. They
I think you can leave that, but why can't you just say 30 days from the date the person becomes the keeper of the dog, obtain a license for the dog by paying the applicable license fee? Why do you have to name the name of the shelter there?
I think probably that would work, because if the process is that they have to ultimately get that from the shelter through the county, that probably would work. I think that would work. So we could do that. Delete.
So the reference to home at last.
Take out the
has
words.
been-
COA, yeah, you can take all the
All that
specific
out.
name.
Does that require a formal motion to amend the ordinance prior to passing the ordinance as?
No, I think if we've read that part, for the record, we can state, the motion can be to adopt by title only as amended.
Yes, okay.
That specific section.
Okay.
If that's the only change you want to make.
Any other questions?
And that's General Ordinance 12-1327?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay with that?
All right,
Yes.
anything else? All right, so at this point, does any member desire to have the ordinance as amended read in full?
No.
Right, so would the city clerk read the title of the ordinance by title only?
For the record, can I get exactly what we're amending?
For ordinance 12-1327, strike the word Central Oregon Animal Friends as it appears in 2 lines. Section 3 of that ordinance.
Thank you. General Ordinance number 18-1364, amending General Ordinance numbers 88-1094, 93-1166, 93-1176, 91-1127, 12-1324, 06-1266, 07-1284, 93-1162, 93-1175, 96-1208, 97-1218, 98-1224, 12-1327, 90-1104, 93-1169, 03-1247, 14-1337, 90-1113, and 99-1230 as amended.
Thank you. So at this time, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the ordinance by title only as amended.
Nobody wants to read it.
You can just say the general ordinance number as amended.
Okay. Okay, move to adopt General Ordinance number 18-1364 by title only as amended.
Second. Been moved and seconded to adopt general ordinance number 18-1364 as amended by title only. Is there any, and seconded, is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, that passes, and nothing further on the agenda, so.
Yes, there is.
Oh, that's right, there's 12.
B's.
Add 12B. So who's giving the report for?
I'll be handling that, Mayor Myers. As part of their response to the request for proposals at the airport, a company called, referred to as Tech Arrow, proposed to lease the mobile home at the airport for $300 per month. We have a proposed lease that's with the staff report, it's been approved by representatives from Tech Arrow and the Clickatack County prosecuting attorney. Under the lease, Tech Arrow would be paying us about $97 for a prorated amount, where an employee of theirs has been in the mobile home in January, and starting February 1st, they would pay the $300 monthly rent they will also be making a security deposit of $300, and this essentially is a year-to-year lease, very similar to the lease that we had with the previous FDO. So we're asking the council to authorize the mayor and city staff to sign the agreement with Quick County and Quick Corporation doing business as TAC Arrow, and we'll submit to Quick County if you approve it tonight.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Move to authorize the mayor and city staff to execute the mobile home lease agreement with Quick County and Hood Tech Corp. Arrow Inc. DBA TAC Arrow.
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded to authorize the mayor and city staff to execute the mobile home lease agreement with Quick County and Hood Tech Corp. Arrow Inc. DBA TAC Air. Is there any discussion?
It's actually TAC Arrow.
What?
TAC Arrow.
TAC Aero, A-E-R-O. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now I can say, nothing further on the agenda. This meeting is adjourned. Sir?
You went to it.